Hi, I'm Anusha Agnur from PQI, and today you're watching our PQI Profiles, a show in which we get to know our members. So today I'm joined by Corinn Durham from Chemistry Department at Pitt. She is currently a second year PhD student working with Professor Lillian Chong in the area of computational chemistry. Corinn, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
And firstly, congratulations on winning the Poster Award this year at PQI 2018.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So how do you feel about it?
It's a big surprise, and I'm very happy about it. Yeah.
So I think that's a kind of like a great achievement for you, being in second year. So Corinn, tell us about yourself, your family, and a little more about your background.
Sure. I grew up in Roanoke, Virginia, and so it's like an old train town, coal mining stuff. So women in science were kind of not a thing. So I went through school and decided to take all the science classes that I could. Went to William & Mary. Thought that I would do either biology or chemistry, and I fell in love with the chemistry department. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, so tell us about your research and what motivated you to take up biochemistry and computational chemistry.
Sure. So in undergrad, I started in a chemical biology lab, working on natural amino acids and cancer detection and all of these really kind of hardcore biology techniques. And I was really, really interested in proteins and how they work and how we could change them to better serve our purposes, like medicine. And at some point, I fell in love with PChem, but I thought I couldn't do it. So I went to grad school and applied for biological chemistry or chemical biology, and worked in Kabir Islam's lab, epigenetics, even more hardcore biology stuff. And I sort of realized at one point that experimental techniques are very, very good and very useful, but I cared a little bit more about the molecular components of proteins, not so much the bigger characteristics of them. So I wanted to dig a little deeper. And somebody introduced me to Lillian Chong, and she was doing work on proteins I had never heard of. And I was lucky enough to be welcomed into her lab.
Wow. I mean, I'm from chemical engineering background, but my minors was in biology in undergrad, so I can totally associate with you. Why I was interested in DNA and RNA and a lot of biological molecules. So you said you do a lot of computational chemistry research, right? So
Yes.
Are there any softwares that you specifically work on?
So we actually have our own software package. It's called WESPA. It uses the weighted ensemble strategy for path sampling. I'm just getting started using that. Right now I'm using a pretty old binary from Adrian Elcock called UIWABD. I've written 80s or 90s or something. Doing a bunch of coarse grain models, trying to find out broader strokes of the small strokes of these proteins. Use a lot of AMBER, a lot of VMD.
Okay, so
well.
you work more on simulations, right?
Yes.
So what's the major application of your research?
So our research, we focus on dynamics of proteins rather than an X-ray structure that's very static or sort of assays that are very dynamic but not very detailed.
Okay.
So we're trying to get into that knowledge gap of
Okay.
what proteins are doing in between those two states.
Okay. So I'm sure being, PhD, it's always challenging, but I would like to know the major challenges of your research work.
So getting started, I came from biological chemistry lab, so I had zero computational experience. So I've had to learn Python, learn Shell, learn how programming even works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a huge learning curve. And now I am getting into the sort of WESPA things, and that's another huge learning curve. And I mean, we're working on a natural system, so inherent challenges abound. They're everywhere.
Okay. So what's the most rewarding and exciting thing about your research, apart from the challenges that you already face?
The most rewarding is when I find something out that nobody else knows.
Okay.
Which I think is true for a lot of scientists.
Okay.
So we learned, for example, a couple of weeks ago that maybe the dimer isn't very stable in this trimerization process.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for 12 hours straight trying to prove it. I was just so excited.
Okay. So were you able to accomplish something new? Like I'm sure you're in the second year of PhD, but still, is there anything that you actually accomplished in these 2 years of your PhD here?
Well, I mean, I haven't published any papers. I've won this award, which is probably the biggest thing that happened. And I think that we are moving towards proving something new. And I know that I've written so many new analysis tools that maybe could be helpful for other people, so maybe that counts. But I really think that when we get this paper out, it'll be new. I'm not sure it'll be groundbreaking or world-changing, but it'll be new.
That's really exciting. I mean, something new is definitely exciting. So you're a computational chemist. So what's your plan, like, after your PhD? Where do you see yourself? Are you planning to get into industry, or do you just want to continue in academia?
I'm thinking that I want to be in academia. I really, really enjoy teaching. I'm trying to sort of hone that. And I don't think that I would be satisfied not doing research. So academia seems like the best bet. And I want to focus on this problem of proteins. It seems interesting enough to do for my whole life.
Wow, I think that's super interesting. So how do you describe your experience at Pitt, like your PhD experience and the research you've been doing so far in Professor Lillian Chong's group?
It is hard. So the first year in the chemistry department is just classes and teaching, and that was big. But this research sort of culture it's hard. I mean, you're thinking as deeply as you can every second of every day, and Lillian just pushes us to do more, and it's exciting. I never knew that I could be this smart, I guess.
Wow. So you're originally from Virginia, like from your description you went to undergrad in Virginia. So how was it like coming to Pittsburgh, and what do you like most about Pittsburgh?
I love Pittsburgh. This city, so I grew up in a coal town, and this city is a steel town, so it's got a couple of familiar aspects, like trains everywhere and weird black stains everywhere. So that's a little homey. It's still in the mountains, but it is the biggest city I've ever lived in, and that means it has so many opportunities, and there's all these little pockets of neighborhoods that have completely different atmospheres, and I really, really enjoy that. There's always something new to discover here.
Wow, I love Pittsburgh. I'm a huge fan of Pittsburgh City. Glad to hear that. So like, I'm sure like being a grad student, you don't get a lot of spare time or like, you know, a lot of time to do recreational activities, but I would like to know what's your favorite pastime.
My favorite pastime right now is definitely Netflix binging.
Okay.
But beyond that, I'm trying to work on cooking more for myself.
Wow.
Which is super exciting. My boyfriend is Nepalese, and his mom is an inspiration. That woman can cook my pants off.
Wow.
And I'm really excited to learn all of these new techniques. And it's really satisfying, inherently, I think.
So did you get to explore any other cuisines, like different cuisines? What did you try on so far?
So I've tried Nepalese. I've tried... there was some Egyptian thing that I made once. I don't really know what it was. I've tried Thai, Mexican, Italian. Not so much Greek. That's on my list. But yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what I like, and the best way is to try them all.
I see a lot of common things, like I love cooking, and like so far I could only master Indian cooking because I'm originally from
Please
India.
teach me.
I will. For sure. So like, you know, I'm sure like you had good inspiration to get into chemistry or like biochemistry, which is like academia perspective, but other than that, like, do you have any other role models in life or someone you used to look up while you were growing up?
Absolutely. My parents obviously inspired a lot of curiosity and promoted that, and I'm grateful. But my cousin, I think, is probably the biggest influence. She went to Loyola for undergrad and showed me trypanosomes under a microscope once when I was like 11. I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Okay. So that's where your inspiration came from, too.
That's one of the biggest ones, for sure.
Wow, that's really nice. So how do you describe your experience with PQI, and for how long have you been associated with PQI?
So I learned about PQI just through Lillian, because she's a member, and now I'm a member of her lab. PQI is apparently this super generous, like, beautiful organization. We have this room in Everly that has one of these giant TVs that is apparently from you guys. The poster session was, like, super well put together. My experience is obviously limited, but what I've seen so far is it's this great organization that tries to push young scientists forward, and that's great.
Wow, nice to hear that. So lastly, like, do you have any advice for students who want to apply for poster awards next year at PQI?
Yeah, just try it. And try to put your research out in the most accessible form you can. Because, at least in my experience of doing molecular dynamics, that's not quantum. A lot of people at the poster session weren't familiar with what I was doing.
Okay.
But I gave it my best and it worked out.
So were you intimidated in poster session of, like, having this misconception that you're not related to quantum?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
but
I mean, everybody around was actually welcoming. I was very nervous coming in, but once I was there, it was fine.
I think you still made it and you won the award, so
Yeah.
that's definitely a biggest achievement. And Corinn, like, I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
And I really had a great time interviewing you. So thanks for coming to our program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and thank you so much for watching our show.
Thanks.